Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Good Taste for the Soul. I'm Tanji, Patton. If you're a wine fan and an HEB fan, the #1 retailer of wine in Texas, true fact, we're in probably what you might think of as wine paradise. We're in a wine department at HEB, and I am with an expert that's going to tell us how to navigate the wine department, because some of these stores have really big ones. If you don't know what you're looking for, we've got some great tips for you. Charles Rivas, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to talk to you because I think everyone probably thinks about your job, golly, this dream job. You travel the world trying wine to decide what to put in the stores, right?
No, it's a lot of fun, and we're blessed to be able to do it. But at the end of the day, it's a big challenge and a big opportunity. People's tastes change and evolve, and what we're trying to do is stay on the forefront of that. We want to carry everything that a customer wants to find and ultimately is looking for, and the brands that they know, but then also find unique offerings, things that maybe they haven't tried before or from places they haven't heard of, and be able to offer that to them too.
Well, and I think one of the great things about HEB is because you are the #1 retailer. So you guys are a big player in the wine world. And I think as a result, that's why your pricing is so darn competitive, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the things we want to do. We want to be able to offer the lowest prices in the city and in the state for our customers who come in. Wine's an expensive part of the budget, right? And when you make that grocery list out, we want to make sure wine doesn't get crossed off when you have to make a decision between different things. And so we want to be able to offer the lowest prices possible. And that's been a big focus of what we try to offer here.
Well, and there's a lot of research in it. I always find it interesting. HEB in general is an incredibly sophisticated corporation, and how you guys keep up with the competition. But you literally, I don't want you to have to give away trade secrets, but I don't think it's a stretch to say there might actually be some, espionage and other retailers checking the shelves, right?
We do watch, We want to make sure that there's no retailer that's going to be lower than us in price. And so we do sometimes walk stores and check online just to make sure that we're priced right. And there may be some things there that I can't get too much into, but at the end of the day, you can guarantee when you walk into an HEB, you're not going to pay 1 cent more for a bottle of wine than you would in any other retailer in the state. So it's a promise that we make to our customers, and if they do, come let us know.
No, it's true. It's true. You won't be beat. So let's talk a little bit about the department. So some of the stores, this is one of the higher volume stores, right?
Yes.
We're at a store in San Antonio right now. So there's a lot of wines. On average, for these types of stores, because you've got a lot of the big ones in Houston too, how many wines are we looking at when we walk into this thing?
Oh gosh, anywhere from 1,900 to 2,000 wines on the shelf.
Yeah.
So pretty big departments, a lot of choice to select from, and so it can be a little overwhelming sometimes for customers. And so we try to make it as simple as possible, as convenient as possible, but still let people go on a journey and explore and find new things that they've maybe never known before. We're lucky to have 190 stores that have a wine and beer steward in them. So someone in the department to talk to the customer, and that's really what we feel really separates us from a lot of our competition.
Absolutely. When you walk into a department like this, it's not like you have 20 minutes to buy a bottle of wine or two or whatever, and you want to know what to buy. And your wine stewards are amazing.
Yeah.
And that would be my advice. First thing, if you see someone, grab them if you
them.
don't know what you want, right?
Absolutely.
How are the stores laid out in general?
Yeah, so when you kind of round that corner and enter from the back of the store, so when you're rounding the deli or meat corner and you come into the department, what you're going to see is usually a few stacks of wines, and those are your kind of easy grab-and-go wines. Those will be a little bit more priced affordable. A lot of times,
like on the
brands,
on
the ends of the shelf, and then in the front of the department, in front of the wood boxes that you'll see, and we'll talk about the wood boxes here in a second. But you'll see what we call case stacks or side stacks of wines that are really a lot of the customer favorites and things that we want you to be able to grab and go if you don't have time to come into the department. So easy to find. Usually those wines are on sale, so you're going to get a great deal on them. And then from that part, as you walk into the department, that's where you'll see the wood boxes. And in the wood boxes, you're going to have wines from all over the world. Now, the beer and wine steward for that store gets to select the wines that go into those boxes. And so
that's an important point, because
really
they know their customers,
exactly.
Right?
It allows them to, we call it tailoring, but just a big fancy word for making sure that what they're selling matches the customers that they have. And so if they've got a lot of people that just love Chardonnay that come and shop their store, you better believe they're going to have some phenomenal Chardonnays in those wood boxes, or more sparkling wines or wines from certain areas. We have some of our stores that serve a population looking for kosher wines. And while we have some kosher wines on the shelf in stores with a demographic that has a higher demand for those wines, wines, we offer extra wines through the wood boxes. In Austin, we have a lot of stores that have a big demand for organic wines, and we have a 4-foot organic set, but sometimes that's not enough assortment for the customer looking for those wines, and so you'll see that kind of supplemented through the wood boxes.
Yeah, I love the wood boxes. They're kind of like an educational thing to pay attention to as well.
Absolutely.
If you're a wine fan.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
You have wines in there from domestic, but also all over the world.
All over the world, we source wines from over 200 countries, and so it's really fascinating. We have, if a typical HEB has anywhere from 1,900 to 2,000 SKUs, we have 9,000 wines available for our stewards to select from.
Isn't that wild?
And so they're really able to go in and curate an assortment that really fits with what their customers are looking for.
Well, you bring up a good point because you guys, we feature the wines on the Wine Finds in Good Taste with the TV show, and they literally are vetted. I come in and we pull wines off the shelf. I go home, I try them, and if I like them, you'll see them on the TV show. But you guys do a lot of the vetting before I ever come in for the TV show, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're the number of wines we try, and it sounds fun and glamorous. So we talked a lot about the fun aspect when we kicked everything off. That's a lot, and there's a lot, and we have a pretty selective process. We want to make sure that the products that we're offering are high quality and high caliber wines. We're going to sell everything that a customer wants to find, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to select from 9,000 wines and get it down to that 2,000, that's a very tedious process and a very rigorous process, and we do a lot of that blind and making sure that it's taste-based first, and then the labels and the marketing materials and all the pieces that then help a customer understand, does this wine make sense for me or not? But the label may sell a bottle. It's what's inside the bottle that brings that customer back for the second
That
one.
is so true. It's easy to look at a label and think, oh wow, I bet this is a great wine. Maybe.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I think. Maybe. you don't know, and not always. You bring up a point about with as many wines as you have, and so I use the TV show because that's my frame of reference with your customers often. If someone sees a wine on our show, all they have to do, if they don't see it in their HEB, we try to pick the wines that are in most HEBs, they can ask the wine director, right?
Absolutely.
At that store to bring it in.
Absolutely. Any wine that they see on your show, any wine that they may be familiar with that they've had from a winery that they visited, maybe they've been able to travel the world or go to Napa or Sonoma or something like that, and they can't find that in our store, ask the wine director, they'll get in contact with me, and as long as they have a distributor in the state of Texas, we should be able to get that wine in for them. But that's a big part of what we do. We have a wine club and concierge program, and it's a little different than a typical wine club. There's not a monthly shipment. But what it is access to highly allocated wines and wines that maybe that a customer wouldn't necessarily find on the shelf in a typical grocery store or wine shop, but that we want to make sure are available to our customers. And so anything that you're interested in, anything that they see on the show, engage with their beer and wine manager. That's going to be the most important connection in the store for them, hopefully.
So is this like a free concierge service for wine?
It really is, yes. And so if there's something that you found or that you know of or that you've had in the past that you can't find in an HEB, talk to them and they'll get you in contact with our concierge manager, and we'll do our best to track that wine down for you.
I love that.
Absolutely.
That's such a great service. So let's talk a little bit about how the stores are laid out. So it looks to me like you've got a lot of varietal.
Yes. So if it's a domestic wine, so wine from the U.S., it's going to be laid out by the varietal or the type of wine. So Cabernet, Pinot Noir, Zinfandel, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. If it's from a certain country, it'll be by country of origin is what we call it. So we have France, Italy, Spain, South America, and Australia. So if it's a wine from the United States, it's by varietal. So you have Cabernet, Pinot Noir, Zinfandel, Chardonnay, kind of the classic varietals.
Right. There's signage, so
signage
they're
above
easy to
each
find, right?
Exactly, yes. And then if it's a wine from outside of the United States, we have it by country. And so that's either France, Italy, Spain are going to be our big three from Europe.
Yeah.
And then we've got Australia, and we've got South America is another big segment that we have too. And then we keep all the sparkling wine together. There's a lot of sparkling wine out there, whether that's champagne or Prosecco or just French sparkling wine or American sparkling wine. So we kind of group that together. And then we get into our sweet segments, and then what we call value wine, but those are going to be the wonderful values that you find in boxes or in the big 1 liter, 3 liter jugs that we have. And so we want to keep it as simple as possible when you're trying to navigate 1,900 SKUs. Right, and so, but that's the big piece. If you're buying an American wine, it's usually going to be by the type of wine, and then if you're buying an imported wine, you're going to find that by the country.
So, in terms of the shelf height, there's also a science to how the method, right, to how these things are placed on the shelf.
Oh, absolutely. And so normally it's going to be by varietal and then by alphabetical flow, but it's also price flowed. So you're going to find the more expensive wines on top and then the less expensive wines on bottom, but that doesn't mean that the quality is going to be any less
No,
on the
I will
bottom
tell
shelf.
you, some of the best wine finds is when I scour that bottom shelf.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes not, but occasionally there will be something there, and
Yeah.
it may be new to HEB, it could be a new producer, something, and that it doesn't have the maybe name recognition and whatnot.
Sure.
But sometimes there's some real hidden gems.
Oh, absolutely, and that's a big piece of it too. One, we want to make sure that the wines that are the most sought after and most grabbed are in easy positions for the customer to grab. We don't want them to have to bend down for an item that we know we're going to move a lot of bottles on, and so maybe there are some new wines that do end up on the bottom shelf, or the way they just kind of lay out alphabetically. It's just kind of unfortunate that they'll be on that kind of bottom row there, and so we try to rotate through that as much as possible. But at the end of the day, when customers start finding that and it starts getting a lot of traction, then you'll start to see that bottle slowly move up a little bit. But never discount what's on the bottom, because there will be a lot of phenomenal wine
No,
stuff.
there are. I can think of a French one right now that started out as an $8 Pinot,
Yeah.
down on your bottom shelf, and I think it's $24 a bottle now.
Oh, well,
Fast
that's-
forward 5-6 years, yeah, it became
Yeah.
popular, and it's
Absolutely.
a good producer and
Yeah.
whatnot. So that helped. So as a consumer coming in, and let's say you think you want a cab, you don't know, you don't want to spend a ton of money.
Sure.
The middle section, is that a pretty good safe bet?
That's a safe bet. That's always a good spot to start. You're going to find things in the middle section anywhere from $12 to $15, maybe $19, depending on the store that you're in. And those will always be solid values and solid finds from producers that most people have heard of and are familiar with.
Right.
And that's kind of that sweet spot to start at. If you want to maybe splurge a little bit and go up, we've got the top shelf, and you'll find a lot of the items from Napa Valley up there, some of the more well-renowned brands that customers have heard of. And then if it's a really special occasion, we have the refrigerated cases. And those are kind of at the front of the store, and those are kind of the wines that you'll see behind the glass there. And those will be really unique wines, special wines that aren't really available in retail in other locations. And so those are wines that we've traveled the world, we've met with the wineries and the owners of the wineries. We've asked for, can we get a few bottles? Can we get maybe a case or two and put them in our best wine shops? And so we're lucky that, we have a lot of really good wine shops that are able to offer those wines.
Absolutely, because if you go to Napa, using Napa as an example, you may go to a winery and there may be a wine you've seen it in the grocery store, restaurants, whatnot, but they'll also have other production pieces in their portfolio. And you can find some of those really special wines that usually you could only get at the winery, right?
Exactly, yes. I mean, they don't even come with a barcode on the back. Sometimes we have to print a special number on the back so the people at the cash register know how to ring it up, because it's not a wine that is what we call in distribution, or it's not kind of sent around the country for sale in other wine stores. It's something that they sell through their wine club or at the tasting room. And we've been lucky enough to be able to establish those relationships and be kind of a selected partner of theirs to be able to bring their wines to their customers that maybe they have out of state that aren't able to get out to Napa as much. And so those kind of wine club exclusives and those items that are really kind of hard to find will be what you find in those refrigerated cases.
Yeah, if you're really into wine, don't overlook the refrigerated case, because there are some incredibly interesting wines. So you've got those wines, and then there's another case that has some very special wines that actually have a nonprofit element as well, right?
Yes, so those are wines. We travel each year out to the Sonoma County Barrel Auction and the Premier Napa Valley Auction, and those are two really special auctions because they give back to the community. And so each of the wineries produce a special barrel of wine, and the barrel either will produce 5 cases or 10 cases, depending on the amount of wine they're able to allocate to it. And then retailers from all over the world kind of gather and bid on those wines. And then at the end of the day, all the funds from that go to support charitable causes within the Napa Valley or within the Sonoma County area, and really go back to the school children and to the vintners and to the people that are really trying to raise families and bring up their family in the industry and share the good world of the work that they're doing within those communities. And so what we do is we travel out there and bid on those wines each year. It's unique because you win that barrel, and then you are literally the only retailer in the entire world that has that wine from that vintage. And so they only produce those 5 cases or those 10 cases, and then we're able to offer them to our wonderful customers here. And it's really neat because it'll be wineries that you've heard of. They're big names that are out there, but these are very special bottles from those wineries that will not be available to anyone else, including their own wine club members from the winery. And so it's something
deal.
that's
And
special, yeah.
To even be bidding in that competition, it's big bucks because they are such rare wines.
Absolutely.
So for HEB to have those just right there.
It's really a special offering and something that's allowed us to go out and make a lot of connections and allow us to then unlock some of the other special wines because they do show that we're out there, one, investing in their communities as well. You know, one of the things I've always loved about HEB is our commitment to our Texas communities and whether that's responding to some of the natural disasters that we have or any of the situations that arise here in the state. But we also have a commitment to supporting a lot of the folks that we do business with and supporting the communities that are our supplier communities. And one of those is the Napa Valley and the Sonoma Valley and different areas from the West Coast that are able to produce a lot of the wonderful wines that we're able to carry here.
Yeah, no, it's great. You guys get back to every single community you're in. That's one of the many things that people love about HEB, and it's true. So it's easy to picture you guys travel, you know, domestically to different wine regions, but you literally go to wine regions all over the world, right?
Oh, absolutely. We go to France quite a bit, to Italy, but to South America too. We sell more South American wines than any other retailer in the country, and so we go down there quite often and look for hidden gems, but then also things that we know are pretty popular that our customers come in looking for. And so the traveling again sounds glamorous, but at the end of the day,
it does, Charles.
It's a lot of work. We're visiting 5 or 6 wineries a day, and then there's usually a lunch and a dinner in there with an owner of a winery, and they're very excited to show you all of their wines. And so, you know, it's a lot of spitting, which is not glamorous. Yes,
do you spit?
We spit everything pretty much, and so a lot of swishing and spitting is kind of what we call it as an industry term. But there's no way you could get throughout the day without doing that. So there are some wines, trust me, I've wanted to like, oh man, this would be a really fun one to be able to finish. But at the end of the day, you've got to pack up and go to the next one and keep searching for the next wine.
You've got to be really disciplined, truly.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
To stay in that kind of a situation and maintain, because it's a long day.
It is, absolutely. But it's fun, and it's what really helps us differentiate ourselves from a lot of the other wine shops that you're
Absolutely. And you also take a lot of your wine directors and teams, right, from the stores. So they have that first-hand experience.
Yeah, there's nothing more, one, beneficial for them to be able to say, I've been to the vineyard, I've touched the soil, I've touched the, you know, I've been and walked to the vineyard and met the winemaker. And especially in Texas and in our stores, we have customers that have traveled all over the world that have maybe been to Bordeaux or been to you know, parts of Italy where they grow wine. And so for them to have that experience, we want to make sure that our stewards have just as much experience and can talk to them about that, make that relationship with them too. And so we try to get them out into California as much as possible, and then out into the rest of the world too. And that's a big part of that, is making sure that they have that education so they can talk authentically about the wines they're selling. They're all going to have wine knowledge. They're going to know the basics and the ABCs about wine. But when you've been out there and you've walked the barrel rooms and you've tasted the wine with the winemakers, that's just something that's another level of authenticity, and that's what we're going for. These beer and wine managers are truly experts, and they're, I call them my secret sauce, because they're the ones out there making that connection with customers every day, and it's truly special what they're able to do and the services they're able to provide for their customers and their stores.
Yeah, their knowledge is invaluable. It truly is.
Yeah.
So when you walk in and look at the shelving, there's lots of tags on the shelf because you've got thousands of wines, but they're often different colors. What do the different color codings mean? I'm looking at yellow, red, white.
Yeah, absolutely. So there can be a few different things. One, if you see wine favorites on a tag, that's going to denote that is a very special wine to HEB. That's a wine that is found primarily at HEB, meaning you're not going to find that at another retailer. We've worked at the winery to develop that wine, and they've been able to offer it to us, and it's usually going to be a wine that exceeds what we call the price to quality ratio. It's going to be a phenomenal value for the retail that you're going to pay for it.
Absolutely, and that's where your buying power comes in handy.
Sure,
because
absolutely.
you're able to get the wines that sometimes, if you could see behind the label, you'd be pretty impressed to see who's producing that wine.
Oh, absolutely. And having
HEB.
350 stores that sell a lot of wine is really, really helpful at the end of the day, too.
Yeah.
And so we've worked with the winery to make sure that wine exceeds our expectations, and that we're offering our customers something that's really special and that they wouldn't be able to find in another retailer.
So that's wine favorites.
Correct.
And then you've got some that are highly rated. That's another label.
Yeah, and so we want to provide as much much information to the customer as possible. And so you'll see wines that are above 90 points in the major publications. So think Wine Spectator, Wine Enthusiast, James Suckling. We have 4 or 5 different publications that we focus on that we know are some of the best in the industry when it comes to reviewing wines. And so we'll share those scores on the tag. Now, sometimes we may, because we sell wine at a pretty good pace, sometimes the vintage is 1 or 2 behind. But at the end of the day, we try to keep that record on there and show it on the tag so that you know if you're buying a 95-point wine or a 96-point wine, and share that. And then it also has the style on the wine too. And so we want to make sure that the customer understands, is this bold and luscious, or is it silky and smooth? And so you'll see very simple descriptors on that as well.
Which is really helpful, right, if you're not familiar with the wine.
Right. A lot of people are trying wine or buying wine as a gift, and maybe they know what their friends or family members like from a style standpoint, but maybe they've never tried that wine before. And so we want to make sure that they feel comfortable in understanding what is potentially going to be in that bottle for them. Now, everyone experiences wine a little different, and so my ask is, don't get mad at us if you try a wine and it says bold and delicious and you're like, oh, that was a little earthy and funky, right? Because those are going to be some fun wines too. But at the end of the day, we try to make sure that that descriptor matches up with the style of the wine.
And then sometimes it's a closeout wine, right? It's on sale for whatever reason.
We run a bunch of different sales. We have 10% off sales from a lot of our different regions. So sometimes it'll be 10% off France or 10% off South America.
That's on top of if you buy 6.
On top of if you buy 6, exactly. You can kind of what we call stack those deals. And if you buy 6, you get the additional 10% on that as well. But those wines will have a sale tag, and you'll see that'll be the bright yellow, and you'll see the red kind of lettering on there. And then we'll have clearance wines. So wines that maybe we're moving on from, or the supplier's discontinued, and the wineries maybe no longer going to sell that wine. And so those will be the clearance tags. But for the most part, those are the main tags. If you see a white tag, that means that there was just recently a retail adjustment on there. And so there's nothing unique or special about that. We just haven't been able to reprint the color tag, but we wanted to make sure we had the most up-to-date retail for the customers, because a lot of times things will change and go down in price. And so each store kind of has a printer that they're able to print off a tag and make sure that the customer is getting that latest retail on the wine.
Gotcha. And another great way to try wine, you have, they're like enomatics. What is the official name for
Yeah, they're actually called enomatic machines.
Okay.
And they're the wine dispensers, right?
That's the easy
people
one.
come up and you're able to just push the button and the steward's able to try the wine. And those will either be 4 bottles or 6 bottles, but each steward has some of their favorite wines that they've got in there. And that's actually another tag that we didn't mention, but in a lot of stores, you'll see a little tag with a wine steward or beer and wine manager's picture on it. And those are wines that they've selected that they believe are just phenomenal wines that they're really excited to sell. And so they'll have that special tag on a lot of our stores too. But what you'll find is a lot of the wines that they really enjoy and love will be in those enomatic machines, and then you're able to come up and sample, and they'll ask for your ID. And then once they check your ID, you'll be able to get a little 1-ounce pour of those wines and be able to try it before you buy it.
Do you want to talk about the Welcome To wines?
Yeah, so Welcome To is actually one of the brands that's a wine favorite for us. And what that is really a welcome to the different wine regions of the world. So we have a Welcome to Argentina and Malbec. We've got a Welcome to France Provence Rosé and a Welcome to France Sparkling Brut. We've got a Welcome to Italy Prosecco and a bunch of different wines within that. We've got an Italian Chianti. And what it does is really allow a customer to go on a journey. Wine is all about a journey, right? It's about exploring places that they've never been to, exploring new tastes and new flavor profiles.
Cab is different in different regions around the world.
It absolutely is, and we've got a Welcome to Washington Cab that if you think you don't like Cab, maybe you've had wines from California or from Texas even, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I like Cabernet, try that wine, explore that wine. We keep it all at a phenomenal price point. It'll be anywhere from $12.99 to $14.99 depending on the week and what's on sale that week. But it's really something that we wanted to make sure was affordable, but super high quality and very typical of the wines that you'd find from that region. And so a lot of times you'll have producers that have a unique style. For this, we wanted to say, what does an Italian Chianti taste like? And make sure that this was kind of that kind of essential Italian Chianti or that essential Argentinian Malbec or this Italian Pinot Grigio that we have too. We've got almost 12 different wines under that label, and it's really, really an exploration. And so I'd say pick up all 12, get 2 6-packs, and then you can just go on a little journey around the world without a passport.
Around the world party, right?
Exactly.
The Welcome to Prosecco is a good one.
It is. It's a fun wine. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great Prosecco, and those are so popular right now.
Oh my gosh, Proseccos are on fire. Absolutely.
Well, this is great. I think one of the most important things, my takeaway, is get to know the wine stewards in the departments because they're going to be your best source for information.
They're going to be your go-to. We want them to be your wine guy or gal, and they're really a phenomenal resource. And again, anything that you're looking for, any questions that you have, they'll be able to answer it or at least help find it for you.
All right, Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.